We would like to continue our review and practice problems. So this graph represents the number of people who get their source of information from various sources. Okay, so their source of information could be internet, television, newspaper, radio, and we're given the frequency. So identify the type of graph. Well, this is categorical, so it's either going to be a bar graph or a Pareto. Recall that a Pareto is a special type of bar graph that goes in descending order, means the tallest to the smallest. Well, in this case we go down, but then we go back up. So this is not a Pareto, it is actually a bar graph. So this is a bar graph. And I need to What is the most frequent source of information according to the graph? Well, the most frequent source is going to be the internet. So the most frequent source of information is the internet. What's the least frequent? Well, the least frequent is newspaper. So the least frequent source of information is the newspaper. How many more obtain their information from television than from radio? So we're looking at television and radio. So we're going to take 181 and we're going to subtract 96 from it, and we will get 85. So 85 more obtain their information from television than the radio. So 85 more people obtain their information from television than the radio. What percentage obtains their information from newspaper? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to add up. We need to get our total number of people that we discussed. So if we add these up, 248, 181, 25, 96, we have a total of 550. To get the percentage, what we're going to do is we're going to take the 25 that get their information from the newspaper, divide it by 550, and we multiply it by 100. This will give us the percentage. So 25 divided by 550 times 100 gives us 4.5%. So approximately 4.5% obtain their information from the newspaper. This graph represents the age of patrons at a movie. So we have 53 people from the ages of 18 to 22. Recall that with this histogram, this only goes to 22 because this one starts at 23. So it goes to 23 to 27, 28 to 32, 33 to 37, 38 to 42, 43 to 47, 48 to 52, and 53 to 57. You might want to make a note of this whenever you're looking at graphs. Recall that the histograms, this particular class, only goes to one number less than this. So what is the class width? Recall that the class width is the difference between these two lower limits. So if I take 23 minus 18, that gives me 5. So the class width is 5. What class has the highest frequency? Well, if we look through here, we have the highest frequency on the first class. So ages 18 to 22 have the highest frequency. And again, recall that I'm not putting that 23 because I don't go all the way up to the 23. Determine the shape of the histogram. So notice that we start high and go lower to the right. Therefore, this is a skewed right histogram. So this is a skewed right histogram. Identify the lower class limit of the second class and, so this is two separate parts, so the lower limit of the second class, so here's class 1, here's class 2, the lower limit is 23, and the upper limit of the fourth class, 1, 2, 3, 4, the upper limit is going to be 37. So again, the lower class limit of the second class is 23, while the upper class limit of the fourth class is 37. Just really pay attention to what is the question asking. It's not asking for the entire class limits or the frequency, it's just asking for that lower class or the upper class. What percentage of patrons were between the ages of 28 and 32? So 28 and 32 is right here, so we're going to have 25 divided by, if we add all of these up, we should have 189. So there was a survey of 189. We're going to multiply that by 100. And we round it to one decimal, so we get approximately 13.2%. So again, approximately 13.2% of patrons were between the ages of 28 and 32. Now we have a frequency distribution here. Determine the class width. Well, again, the class width is the difference between the lower class limits. So when I look at that, the class width is going to be 6 minus 1, which is 5. So the class width is 5. How many values are greater than 10? So whenever we look at greater than 10, here's 10. We're talking about these values. 28 plus 13. 28 plus 13 is 41. So there are 41 values greater than 10. Which class has 13 values? Well, we look over here, and the class with 13 values is here. So the class of 16 to 20 has 13 values. Most of the time we're just literally reading off of the table for this information. Scott Chernowski owns a pet grooming shop. His prices for grooming dogs are based on the size of that dog. His records from last year are summarized below. Construct a frequency distribution. Show the relative frequency as a percentage. Okay, so he had 345 dogs that were in the large group, 830 that were in the medium group, and 645 that were in the small group. So he saw a total of 1,820 dogs last year. Recall that relative frequency is the frequency divided by the number in our sample, and since we want a percentage, we're going to multiply by 100 to get the percentage, or move the decimal place over 2 places to the right. So if we take 345 divided by 1820, multiply by 100, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. It doesn't really tell us. 2 is usually a good number. And so we're going to get 18.96%. 830 divided by 1820 multiplied by 100 is going to be approximately 45.6%. And 645 divided by 1820 multiplied by 100 is going to be approximately 35.44%. We want to construct a frequency Pareto. So frequency Pareto is going to use the frequency and the classes. So I'm going to draw my vertical axes and my horizontal axes. We're talking about the size of a dog. So I'm going to use that as my label down here. And since we're wanting a frequency Pareto, we're going to use frequency here. Our frequencies go from 345 to 830. So I'm going to make these I'm going to count by 100s. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and I need that 900. A Pareto goes in order from the most frequent to the least frequent. So my size of dogs, I'm going to start out with medium because it has the most frequent. Then I'm going to go to small. Then I'm going to go to the large because we are looking at a Pareto. So mediums had 830 dogs. So it's going to be up here. I am having to estimate because I don't have all of my scale through here. Small dogs, there are 645, so close to 650. So we'll go about here. And then the large dogs, there were 345, so approximately here. Notice I go from the largest down to the smallest. I don't go back up again. This is what is considered a Pareto. So here we're looking the local police using radar, checking the speeds in miles per hour of 30 motorists in a construction area. The results are listed below. So there were 3 people that went between 33 and 35. There were 5 people that went between 36 and 38. We want to construct a histogram. So a histogram, recall, is a bar chart. And we're going to put the speed in miles per hour on the horizontal axis. And we're going to put the frequency along the vertical axis. And so my frequency is 2 to 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now recall, whenever I look at the horizontal axis, I am going to include the lower class limits. So I'm going to say 33, 36, 39, 42, 45, 48, 51, and I need something for this class, so I'm going to go to 54 because this one ends at 53. The next one will begin at 54. This first class had 3. So I'm going to start at my 33, I'm going to go up to 3, and I'm going to end it at 36 because it goes from 33 to 35. 36 is where the next one begins. I'm going to take that one up to 5. Then the 39 is going to go up to 6. 42 is going to stay at 6. The 45 is going to drop down to 4. The 48 is going to stay at 4. And then my last class is going to drop down to 2. And we have created a histogram. Now we want to look at the shape of the histogram, identify the shape of the histogram. So looking at this, I go up and I go down. I don't have a really long area here or here. So the shape is approximately normal. It's not going to be exactly normal. We very rarely get anything that's exactly normal. So normally we just put approximately normal as our shape, unless it's very obvious as to being right skewed or left skewed. So continue practicing and let me know if you have any questions.